Welcome, guys. Welcome, Bitcoiners. Welcome, traders. Welcome, everyone. Supporters, followers, subscribers, haters, Bitcoin negators. Welcome to all of you. Come on in. Come on in. Looking forward to delve into a very interesting topic today with you. But very glad you're here. Come on in. Make yourselves comfortable. Good morning. Good afternoon. Well, it's morning in the East. Wee hours. Well, no, not so wee hours. Good morning if you're from the East, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. It's always an international audience here, right? All right, guys, come on in, grab the beverage of your choice, maybe even grab something to take some notes with, write some things down with. Hope you are all doing well. Hope you're enjoying the gift. Hope you're enjoying the Bitcoin dip. These dips, they are gifts. They are nothing to scoff at. They are nothing to be frightened of. They are Bitcoin's benevolence. That is what a dip is during Bitcoin's bullish cycle. All right, we're 13 days into, or 13 days post Bitcoin's fourth halving. All right, it's a baby in its halving cycle. We'll talk about that a little bit today. And there's a long way to go. There's a lot more to come. So during these periods, you don't get shaken. All right, don't get shaken. What I want to do is I want to focus a bit on this post that I made just a little bit ago, and it's regarding the bond market, which, as I mentioned in my post, the global bond market, especially the US based bond market, is the underpinning of the entire financial system, the entire global debt-based or credit-based financial system. Each and every time over the last 50 years or so that the bond market has gotten into trouble, there has been moves made to shore it up. Why? Because it's basically the base layer of everything. It's the pipes, it's the underpinnings of everything. And if there's problems in the bond world, there's problems for everyone financially, who has structured their entire financial lives on top of the base layer. There's problems for everyone. And so there's always rescue attempts to shore the bond market up. If there's problems with the plumbing, there are massive moves that are made to ensure that that does not go. Because if that were to go, if the problems there would become systemic, the entire system collapses. All right. Now, the bond market has largely been one of the world's biggest store of value assets. All right. And there are several store of value assets, bonds being the biggest. What also rivals bonds is the real estate market, right? Major store of value, right? Okay. Throughout the world. And you have things like equities. All right. Smaller, but still nothing to scoff at. Big. We're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars of value in each one of those buckets, those store of value buckets. So I would place the bond market at number one as being the world's largest store of value asset. And think of how crazy this is, right? Think of how someone else's debt is your asset. What? Just think about that. That is what a credit-based system is. That is what US Treasury bonds are. Countries have bought hundreds of millions of dollars of US bonds, and they place those bonds on their balance sheets as assets. Another man's debt is another man's asset. It's freaking wild. Anyway, so I would place the bond market as the world's largest store of value bucket. All right. So that the size of that bucket is roughly something like, it's well over $300 trillion in total. That's crazy, 300 trillion. And then you have the equity market or the real estate market, which sort of rivals the bond market as a store of value. I would say that's more like 300 trillion. It's close to 300 trillion globally. I'm talking globally. And then you have the equity market. That's the third bucket. That's the third store of value bucket, right? And that would be something along the lines today of 120 trillion. And then you have the other smaller stores of value. I'd say the next biggest store of value would be gold. We don't really know what the value of gold on Earth is, right? They tell us it's about $14 trillion. It fluctuates. It's fluctuating now between $14-15 trillion in total. That's a bucket. But in truth, do we really know how much gold is on planet Earth? I mean, were we around 6,000 years ago when gold was being mined then and brought out of the ground? Is there someone that was meticulously accounting for every single ounce? Do those accountants know exactly how much gold jewelry I have in my back closet somewhere, or that you have, or your relatives? Come on, really? Seriously? All right. Anyway, that made up number is supposedly 14 to 15 trillion. So that's a much smaller bucket as far as the store of value, but it's still enormous. Still enormous. And you have other stores of value like arts, and we're talking about arts. Well, art actually is larger as a store of value category than gold. I would say art falls in the area of maybe 20 trillion. I was in the art world for a spell. And collectibles, I was in the collectibles world for a spell as well. I collected watches. And so I would say your art category falls in the area about 20 trillion, and collectibles, I don't know, 10 trillion, something like that. Whatever those numbers are, those are your smaller, more exotic stores of value. But the major three are bonds, real estate, and equities. Okay. Now, we can't really consider currencies. We can't really consider currencies an actual store of value if the system were not broken. Your currency is also supposed to be a store of value. But because currencies are debased every second, every moment of your life, they lose value every single second of your life. Because they're simply melting ice cubes, you can't really consider currencies, especially today, as a store of value. And as an example of that, the US dollar loses purchasing power anywhere between 7 and 12%. And if we per year, so which means that you hold dollars as savings and it purchases less. That savings in dollars purchases 7% at best, 7% less than it did the year before, and at worst, about 12%. Now, as we know, in 2021, it purchased 40% less year over year. All right, because the printing press went burr like never before. But on average, 7 to 12%. And if we take that more conservative number of 7% loss in purchasing power every single year, the dollar has a half-life of about 10 years. So basically, you hold dollars in savings, all right, you hold $100,000 in savings. In 10 years, it purchases $50,000 worth of merchandise. That's not a store of value. So I'm not going to include currencies, which I believe maybe 60 trillion, but I'm not going to include that in the store of value bucket. But the monster of all store of values, the monster is globally is the bond market. And it also is special in the sense that it serves as the entire financial system's pipeline. It's the plumbing that causes everything to so-called work, right? Okay. Now, I'm not quite sure how many of you know this. I've posted about this previously, but bonds have had the worst period of their entire existence since 1812. Think about that, guys. The worst period since 1812. And I believe that the gig is up. I believe that this is not a one-time thing. I believe that it's a crack in the armor that will continue to split longer and longer and start to get wider and wider. And I believe that Bitcoin is going to eat bonds, eat the lunch of bonds, not right away, but gradually, and then very, very suddenly. You see, it's increasingly becoming not cool throughout the world to own another man's debt as your asset. It's increasingly becoming inappropriate to rely on another man's debt as your asset, as the thing that gives your country value. So I'm sure many of you have heard in the news, there's this growing movement to get away from using US Treasury bonds as the main reserve asset for other countries. Why? Because, first of all, it's another man's debt. All right. You are not in control of how they value the debt or debase the value of that debt. So you are not in control of the policies that support the value that you purchased and placed at the base layer of your financial system. And in addition to that, we've learned in recent past that the United States in particular has no qualms about turning your money off. The money that you purchased, the value, the bonds that you purchased from them, from the United States, that's sitting on your balance sheet that's supporting your country's entire financial system. All right. They have no problem turning it off if you don't do what they want you to do. Right. America's gangster. America's gangster. All right. So this is not the only thing, but it is one of the things that's contributing to bonds having the worst period since the year 1812. This is crazy. Now, one of the reasons why bonds became so popular, I would say over the past 35 years or so big over the past 35 years, is because it was your no-brainer play. Because we were in a decade after decade after decade long, we were on a several decade path of lowering interest rates. Lowering interest rates makes bonds more valuable. Okay. So it was an easy trade. All right. Since it was almost guaranteed that interest rates would be lower in the future than they are now. All right. The bonds would be more valuable instantly once the interest rates were lowered. Well, we've left the lowering of interest rate multi-decade era. It's over. That's over. And so the easy trade is over. But as a result of that easy trade, there was this model that Wall Street made very popular. It's called the 60-40 model, right? So it was basically Wall Streeters basically said, listen, give me your life's work. Hand it to me. You're not sophisticated enough to handle what you've worked and busted your ass for. You give it to me. Now I'm going to charge you. I'm going to charge you for it. This is very sophisticated stuff. All right. That fee is going to be worth it. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'm going to make sure you're okay. And I'll charge you a fee every single year of your life. Hand your goods to me. Hand everything that you've worked for to me. And I'm going to manage it for you. Give you a management fee. And people did in droves. What they did was just take your money and do it 60-40, 60% equities, S&P 500. 60% bonds. All right, 60% bonds, boom. 40% equities, S&P 500, off to the golf course. Charge, 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 charge. That's not sophisticated at all. But that's what drove a big portion of the financial system over the past couple of decades, right? This 60-40 model, all right? Automatic, 60% go in bonds, 40% go in equities. Now, this worked for a while. It worked. It worked because traditionally, if equities are having a poor period, bonds would have a strong period. And if bonds weren't so great, they were never really bad, terrible. But if they weren't so great, equities would typically be rocking. So it was a nice little balance for a while. That is over. 60-40 is dead. Will it come back? No. It's over. It's finished. The 60-40 portfolio is ancient in modern times, I would say. It's never really going to work or perform well in the future going forward. So the 60-40 easy money making, no brainer portfolio, that is over. That is over. Now, I want to show you. I want you to look at these two charts here. You have on the left-hand side, you have what I've done here is I've only shown largely the last 4-year period. And the reason why I'm using 4 years to show you is because I'm basing the 4-year start, more or less, from Bitcoin's last halving. So Bitcoin's third halving occurred on May 11th, 2020. Okay. And at that particular time, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, on that date, Bitcoin was trading around 8,500. Now, that day was pretty volatile. So it went as low as 8,100 or what have you. But let's say 8,500 to round. All right. And today, Bitcoin is 59,000. Now, that represents over a 4-year period, halving date to now, represents a 586% return. There is nothing in that Wall Street universe, in that traditional financial universe, that has come anywhere close to 586% over the past 4 years. Now, listen to me carefully. This incorporates, think about how crazy this is. This is despite the fact that in 2022, Bitcoin had a 76% decline from high to low. It went through a bear market and dropped 76% from its high. And with that bear market, we still for over a 4-year period, having to now have a 586% gain. That comes out to a roughly 146% annualized gain. What on Wall Street has done that? I'm not talking about a lucky asset, a lucky stock. I am talking about traditional pools of money that go into the 60-40 portfolio, or to go into this asset class, to go into stocks, or to go into real estate, or to go into bonds, or what have you. Nothing has come close to that. Nothing. Okay. Now, if we look to the left, This is the same halving date to now. This is what bonds how bonds have performed on the left-hand side. That's 45% negative decline. That's roughly annualized negative. What is that? Shoot, very quickly. My mind's not working right here. I'll get it very quickly for you. That is roughly, I would say 13%, 13.5%. So negative 13% annualized, negative every single year for a total of negative 45% versus 586%. These people were seeking safety. These people were seeking something stable, something secure, a place where they didn't want to take much risk. But when you look at these charts, who took the greater risk? The bondholders did. All right? The bondholders did. Now, here's the point. People go into bonds because it's considered safe. These bonds, particularly in the United States, it's backed by the full faith of the US government, right? Okay. Largely backed by guns and war. And of course, America's taxing power. But largely it's military, it's taxing power, and it's world reserve currency status. Okay. And so that makes it less risky than any other bond in the world. You know that from the start of your bond purchase to its maturity date, you are going to get all of your dollars back. Pretty much guaranteed. That is guaranteed. And you're going to get a little small interest rate for giving up your capital today for that little small interest rate. Now, if we were to look at, this is a 4-year period. So I want you to think about this for a second. If we look at a 5-year bond, a 5-year US Treasury bond, safe, secure, I'm guaranteed to get my principal back, and I'm also going to get a little bump up in interest for giving up my capital. The 5-year period, the average interest over the 5-year period has ranged anywhere for a 5-year bond of -1%, -1%, I believe, at one point during a 5-year period. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but let's call it 1% to 4.5% because interest rates have gone up. So my point is that at the best point during the last 4 years, you could get 4.5% for 5 years, 4.5%. But look at the chart on the left again. The problem is that the value of the bond has dropped, right? So the value of the assets declined, but you got your little 4.5% or your little 1% or your little 2%. But if you hold that bond to maturity, you don't have to worry about the value of the actual asset declining. As long as you hold it to maturity, you're going to get all of that back. It's guaranteed. I put $100,000 in, I'm going to get $100,000 out. The problem is the 7 to 12% debasement of the value of the money you gave 5 years ago. So remember, you're going to lose 7 to 12%. Let's just take the more conservative number. You're going to lose 7% of your purchasing power. So you give up the dollars now, all right? And 1 year later, it buys 7% less. And then the next year later, it buys 7% less. And you lose 7% in purchasing power 5 years in a row, but you get your original $100,000 back. But is it really your original $100,000? No, because you've lost 7%, 7%, 7%, 7%, and 7%. So you're not getting back the same dollars. Do you understand? You see the game? You're getting back less. You're getting back something. You're getting back paper that has numbers painted by an artist on it that says it's the same, but it's really not intrinsically the same. The artwork on your dollar bills don't ever change. The intrinsic value of it changes, and that's the trick. That's the trick that's played on us, guys. An artist was brought in to draw little numbers on pieces of paper, right? Okay, a little one, here's a little one right here, and then I put a little zero, and this one has an extra zero. This one's a 10, and this one I'm putting an extra zero here, and this is 100. Hoo-hoo! But that 100, the number that's painted on there, that 100 stays the same, but it's not the same. It's 7% less, but it says 100. Next year, it's 7% less, and it still says 100. And then the next year, it's 7% less, and it still says 100. And so you think that you're getting the same value back, but you're not. That's the trick that's played on us. So the person receiving your 100,000 5 years ago got the deal, because they could use it right there. You get it. You gave it here. They give it back to you here, but the number on it that says the same. But some people say, well, Oliver, I got some interest. Yeah, you got 1% interest. That doesn't even make up for the 7% that you're losing in the purchasing power. And at best, you got 4.5%, which still doesn't make up for the loss of 7% debasement in your purchasing power. Now, as the world starts to become more aware of Bitcoin, as they become more educated about Bitcoin's 4-year cycle and how it never has failed, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of percent differences from 4 years to 4 years, because that's how a bond player works, right? That's how a bond player thinks. I'm giving $100,000. I'm buying a $100,000 bond now. I'll get it back 5 years from now, plus interest. You understand? So when the world realizes that, wait a minute, I'm not getting the same back. The interest doesn't even make up for it. But look at this other thing that has no interest. But does that really matter? Does it matter that Bitcoin doesn't have an interest or a coupon attached to it when it's delivering gains like this? Do you understand the numbers of people that are going to say, fuck interest? With gains like this, who needs interest? Who needs a coupon? Do you understand? That coupon was a little carrot to get me to give up my goods to you now, so you can use it now and give it back to me down here later. And the world is starting to wake up. The world is not only starting to wake up about the bond game, the world is starting to wake up that there's an answer to that there's an alternative. No, it doesn't have a coupon rate. No, it doesn't have an interest attached to it yet. But my God, right? I thought this was safe. But when I really pull the covers back, when I lift the curtain to see Oz, that's not freaking Oz. That's not what I bought. That's not what I bought into. That's not what I signed up for. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And it's not going to get better. It's done. The crack is in. That crack is only going to get longer and longer and start to get wider and wider. And I am telling you, we're at the very beginning stages where you're going to hear the incredible sucking sound. Do you know what that is? It goes something like this, guys. It's like this. That's the incredible sucking sound, right? That's Bitcoin sucking money out of this scam, this bond scam. You know what I'm saying? The incredible sucking sound is coming. The incredible sucking sound is coming, guys. I'm telling you. I am telling you. So this is the problem that the world largely has now. And we're basically, we basically still have in Bitcoin's cycle another year and a half, another 18 months. Where are these numbers going to be at the end of 2025? This 586% return is going to look like child's play if what I think is going to happen by the end of 2025, the picture is going to be worse. Now, guys, I'm not the only person who understands this. I am not the only person talking about it. The cat is out of the bag, and Bitcoin is going to eat bonds as lunch. Do you understand? There is no way that something this inferior is not going to find its way to what is superior to it. What's also very important to understand is that bond is the globe's most neutral store of value. Bitcoin is the world's most, the globe's most neutral asset, most neutral money, most neutral store of value. And so it is not subject to what, the economic policies or the monetary policies or the fiscal policies of the country that issued the bond. It is not subject to the will and the whims of the country that issued the bond. The Bitcoin can't be turned off like America turned off Venezuela's bonds and Russia's bonds and Iran's bonds, and it can't be turned off. And so no one can tell me that increasingly so, countries, people are not going to want these numbers and these numbers, and guys, it can't be touched. It's not debased. It doesn't lose 7% plus of my purchasing power every year. In fact, it increases my purchasing power every 4 years, guaranteed, mathematically guaranteed. And no one can turn it off. I'm not subject to the will and the whims of whoever gave it, whoever I bought it from. You buy Bitcoin from someone because someone has to sell it to you, right? It's not like you can go make it or take your equipment and drill it out of the ground. All right. So you can't tell me that the world is not going to move to what is neutral, what can't be debased, what can't be touched, controlled, confiscated by any other man, entity, nation, state, or country, and something that has those numbers. No one can tell me that. And so we're at the very, very beginning of this awakening, I will call it, this awakening that will cause people to increasingly say, you know what, let me try 3%. Let me try 7%. Let me try just 10%. And when they get a little taste of it, I've never met a real, true orange-pilled Bitcoiner that did not start doing more than they started with. I'm curious. There's 771 people here, right? Tell me, a few of you let me know. Are you doing more Bitcoin now than you first decided to do? Are you doing way more? Are you accumulating? Are you buying way more than you ever planned to when you first stepped your foot into? I'm curious. You let me know. I want to see what you have to say. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for your comments, I will show you this. That says way more. Ashton says, man, I pulled out bonds top of the year and rolled that money into Bitcoin. You see what I'm saying? Ashton is not the only person. And increasingly so, there are going to be many, many, many more Ashtons in the world. It's just, forget bonds. I'm putting that money into Bitcoin. Absolutely. Jose says, I don't have fiat left to buy. That's absolutely. Yep. Buying every single day to every single week. Awesome. Now, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, if we go back to this, let me show you this. You got BlackRock traveling the globe, telling you that if you thought that the inflows into the Bitcoin ETF was something, you haven't seen anything. Because, guys, what a lot of people don't realize is that Bitcoin was the most successful launch of a spot of any ETF in the history of the world. Right? Bitcoin's number one in almost in everything, right? No surprise to me. Surprise to them, not a surprise to me. But I would say more than 90% of all of those inflows that made Bitcoin the most successful launch of any ETF in the history of planet Earth was almost all retail. You see, institutions don't do it like that. There's so much that has to go on for approval to basically put a decent sum, even in a spot Bitcoin ETF, even in an ETF. The vehicle is familiar. That makes it a lot easier, but still, it's not a flippant decision. And so this is why I've always been pounding the table here. You have to think there's a 6 to 9 month delay for anything in the traditional financial world. The launch of the Bitcoin ETFs in early January didn't mean that institutions were going to just rush in. Almost all of that's retail. That's you guys. Well, hopefully not you guys. You have real Bitcoin, but you know what I mean. That's retail. All right. We haven't seen the first wave of institutional adoption of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock's working on that. All of them are working on that, traveling the globe. They're on road shows right now. And this is lining up for that 6 to 9 months out. OMG. God. Wow. I'm telling you it's coming. I am telling you it's coming. So institutions cometh, all right? To use old English, they cometh, all right? They're not here yet, but they're coming, and they're coming in droves. And yes, they're going to pump your bags. The supply crunch has not taken effect. That also, from the halving, that takes about 6 to 9 months to really work itself through the system and start to have the supply crunch effect. Now, you put all of these things together, right? Maturing of these trashy bonds that have been a disaster, the worst disaster since 1812. This is a $300 trillion market. Maturing bonds, just like Ashton, going into Bitcoin. You've got BlackRock working on sovereign wealth funds, pension funds. You know how huge pension funds are? Just the other day, I believe Japan announced that they are looking, the Japan pension fund is looking at adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet. Do you know that Japan has the largest pension fund in the entire world? Pension fund is huge money. And they need savings because the predominant asset in pension funds that's supposed to support these people in the future, the dominant asset by far is bonds, the worst performing the worst performance since 1812. They need alpha. They need a savior. And so every pension fund in the world is going to Bitcoin, every single one in various degrees, but they're all going. Bond holders are going to Bitcoin. Pension fund holders are going to Bitcoin. Sovereign wealth funds are going to Bitcoin. And all of this is lining up for that 6 to 9 months after around the US presidential election time. My goodness. Wow. Every time I'm ready to say, my God, I hear my mother's voice in the back of my head. Oliver, don't use the Lord's name in vain. So I always say, my goodness. My goodness. All right. Wow. So what do you expect the closing 2024 price will be? I think we'll be sizably above 100,000 by the end of 2024. But guys, far too many people take these price projections. They take them too literal. They take them too seriously. And all you want to be in this game of life, financial life, is to be directionally right. You just want to be directionally right. And so, I have this range of high 100,000s to 400,000 or so. All right. So it's a pretty wide range, but you've got to have wide ranges when you're talking about Bitcoin. It's an 80 to 85 vol asset. So you can't have a little tiny target range. You got to have a wide range. So conservative lower end of the range, 185, upper end of the range, 425. Now, I will tell you that range is conservative, in my opinion. That's a conservative range. And so, so all I'm just saying is that you take those numbers from me and you just want that. You want to be directionally right toward that range, in that range. But you shouldn't take these numbers like that too seriously. And also remember, you're using a certain looking glass. You're using certain glasses. I've talked about this before. So there are different glasses you can choose to look at Bitcoin through. Okay, so Bitcoin is the object, but which glasses are you going to look at it through? So the people in Argentina, they look at Bitcoin through the Argentinian peso glasses, right? The Americans, they take the US dollar glasses and look at it. Now, each one, the Turkish, they take the Turkish lira. The Japanese, they take the Japanese yen. But each glasses has a different picture of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the stable thing. The differences in the picture is not Bitcoin. It's the glasses that you decide to pick up. Now, that might not be extraordinarily important to some, but if you're a little bit more sophisticated, you begin to understand that even that's a joke. Because, in this country with their glasses, Bitcoin's at an all-time new high by far. And with these other glasses, Bitcoin is 15% away from its all-time new high. And in this country, it's 20% away from its all-time new high. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Okay. So at the end of the day, which do you trust more? The thing that is the thing that is controlled, manipulated, debased, can be confiscated, can be stolen, that is controlled by a small number of men right? The price of which is set by those men. Do you trust that? Do you trust this? Or do you trust the thing itself, which never changes? A Bitcoin never changes. When you finally reach this point in your understanding that one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin always, now I can pick up different sets of glasses and it'll show me different pictures. But if I were to just say, I don't want any glasses. I just want my direct relationship with Bitcoin. Why do I need some glasses to tell me about my Bitcoin? And when you get to that place, it doesn't matter what your glasses say. Your goal becomes, I just want more. I want to make sure that I have more this week than last week. I don't care what your glasses say, what his glasses say, or what these glasses say. Those are trying to trick me. One Bitcoin's always one Bitcoin. It is the most stable thing in the world. It is the most certain thing in the world. It is the only thing that is not in the control of human beings. And history has proven us that human beings mess everything up. This is the only thing that can't be messed up because it's not controlled by human beings. It's the only thing that can be stable because whatever human beings touch stops being stable. It can't be stolen because humans can't touch it. Who are the thieves? Humans. It can't be confiscated. Why? Because human beings have no access to it, to its control. So who are the confiscators? Human beings. It can't be debased. It can't be debased. I can't have less of the network. No one can make me have less of the network by no choice of my own. Who debases currencies? Human beings do. Well, human beings have no control of Bitcoin, so therefore, Bitcoin can't be debased. So I'm going to trust the thing that can be debased, that is controlled by men, that is manipulated by men, that can be stolen by men, that can be turned off, that can be confiscated. The price of which is in the control of a small group of men over the thing that is free of all of that. I've stopped looking at Bitcoin through glasses. Now, of course, I have to communicate to you about Bitcoin through your glasses, through the US dollar. But for me, I don't care what the price is. The US dollar wants to tell me it's lower. Great. $1 gets me more of this. It wants to show me higher. Great. $1 gets me less of it. To me, it's just an exchange rate. It's an exchange rate for freedom from this, what I showed you. You know, it takes going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole a bit deeper, right, to reach that point. That is not a point that you start off with right away. But if you continue to go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and truly understand what this thing has come into our existence to solve and to be and to do, you stop looking through the lens of the lie or using the problem that it's come to solve to judge the solution. You don't judge you don't judge the solution by the problem. The Argentinian peso is the problem. So I'm going to accept the opinion of the problem. The Turkish lira is the problem. I'm going to accept. Well, why can't I do this? I'm going to accept the opinion. I'm going to accept what the problem says about my Bitcoin. The US dollar is the problem. And I'm going to rely on what the US dollar, the problem, says about the thing that has no problem. I'm not doing that anymore. The dollar can say Bitcoin's 10,000. Great. $1 gets me more. The dollar can say it's 100,000. Great. Okay. $1 gets me less. As long as I'm getting, do you understand? As long as I'm getting, I'm good. All right. So for me, it's just an exchange rate. It does not suggest, I don't accept its suggestion of its value or its worth. I've gotten beyond that point. So US dollar, show me what you will. Makes no difference to me. You want to show me $10,000 Bitcoin? Great. Now my $1 gets me more of the solution. You want to show me 1 million? Okay, great. My $1 gets me way less, but it gets me. As long as it gets me, I'm good. Tell me you understand what I'm saying. Because all of you guys are afraid of, oh, wait a minute, we were at 73,000 and now we're at 59,000. Oh my God, great. You should be happy. Now your dollar gets you more freedom than it got you at 74, at 73. Bitcoin hasn't changed. TikTok next block. Its properties are the same. It didn't burn down to the ground like your house. Nothing happened to it. It's your broken glasses trying to trick you out of the only certain thing, finally, that human beings have. All right. All right. Carl Stanley, as long as I listen, I can see more clearly. Carl, what do you mean by that? As long as you listen to me, you can see more clearly? If that's what you're saying, I appreciate that. I mean, that's the whole point, though. You know, that's the whole point. All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening, Scott. Did you just show up? Oh, wait, guys. Scott's here. We can start. We can start now. Scott, thank you for showing up. We were waiting for you. We can start. I'm teasing. Guys, it's crazy. Scott, right? Scott says good morning to me every single morning. Every single morning without fail. He DMs me, good morning, Oliver, checking in. Now, I tell you that it's very fascinating to me because I've never met Scott. But there's obviously a relationship enough to where Scott wakes up every morning and without fail will say hello to me. That is a digital relationship. I've spoken about this before, and it's important because the internet helped us discover a new world, a digital world. This world existed before. This world has always existed, just like the atomic world always existed, but humans didn't. Well, human beings for a long while never knew it was there until someone put this contraption together called the microscope. And this contraption helped them discover a new world. The atomic world was not created, it was discovered. But a contraption allowed them to discover it. The internet is the contraption that the internet was put together, and voila, whoa, there's another world here. There's a digital world. Things can live here. Things do live here. And from the moment the internet helped us discover this new world, our old world, the analog world, has gradually first been sucked into the new world, the new frontier, like the new America. And more people began to experiment in the new world. And then they began to bring their things into this new world. And so this new world, this digital discovered world has sucked into itself our photos. All of your photos are there now. I guarantee, well, 90+% of your photos live in the digital world. I have over 50,000 photos here. My mom had 4 albums with 200 photos, 4 physical albums, analog albums. I have 50,000 in this phone. I've got 35,000 in this one. My point is that our photos live in the new world. Our mail lives in, when's the last time you've licked an envelope? Disgusting glue on the back and put a stamp on it and went out to a mailbox to mail it, right? Billions and billions of emails. Email, digital, our mail got sucked there. The vast majority of our communication is there. All right. Our phone calls went there. Our mail went there. Our photos went there. Our music went there. When's the last time you've held a vinyl album or a CD? Some of you have never touched a vinyl album in your life. So our world has moved there. I never met Scott. Our relationships have moved there. Guys, I have traders in my organization that span 95 different countries. I do everything in my organization in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. My traders live all over the world. They span 95 different countries. 99% of the traders I've never met ever. I have a relationship with them every single day. Do you understand? I've had traders that I've known for 10 years. We communicate every day. We spend time together every single day. I know when their kids are born, some of them, when their kids are born, when someone gets married. Do you understand? Like, sometimes if we're on camera digitally, like I'm on camera with you digitally, you know, their kids will walk by and say, "Hi, Oliver." Never met them, never looked at in their eyes physically, never shook their hand. And some of those relationships are dearer to me than relationships I've had in the analog world, in the physical world. Our world has gone digital. In this world, we never thought that there was scarcity. Satoshi Nakamoto, the same way someone put the microscope together and discovered, whoa, there's this new world, the atomic world. And someone put the internet together and, whoa, there's this digital world. And then Satoshi Nakamoto put this thing called Bitcoin together and said, oh, whoa, there's scarcity in the digital world. So scarcity in this new world was discovered by Satoshi. We never thought that the digital world could have scarcity because if I send you an email, I still have the copy of the email. So that's not scarce. You see, scarcity would be, in order to have scarcity, if I send you an email, if email is to be scarce, I send it to you, it leaves me and I don't have the email anymore. But in the digital world, we never thought that was possible. If I send you a copy of a photo I took, I still have the copy and you can make unlimited copies of that photo. You understand? So we never thought that the digital world had scarcity. We tried to create a form of scarcity through laws such as copyright and so forth and so on. But we never thought it was actually there intrinsically. And Bitcoin was the contraption that helped us discover there is scarcity here. And so now our world is largely digital and increasingly so more. Our relationships, our mail, our music, our everything. And the last thing to go there, the biggest thing in the human experience to go to that world is our money. You can't tell me, right, that Our mail went there, our music went there, our movies went there, our relationships are there, our calls are there, all of our communication is there. But our money's not going to be there? Really? Like, how does that even come on? But Oliver, it's not physical. Yeah, so are your photos. So your photos aren't either. Your mail isn't either. Your music isn't either. And so the biggest thing to be digital is our value, because money represents your value, the value that you've given to the world, right? And so, yes, our value now is digital in nature, but you've got to move it there. You've got to move it to the new frontier. You understand? You've got to move it to the new, more dynamic world. And the way you do it is to take a portion of your analog money and move it there and keep it there. You understand? You keep it there. You don't go backwards. You keep it in that world. And increasingly so, you put more and more in that world. And the money, the value in that digital world will grow so big that it dwarfs this analog that you completely give up on this and you're totally there. You are totally in the digital world in certain aspects of your life. Value today is not supposed to be physical. The problem with the physicality of value is that because it was always physical, it created wars because people could steal the physical version of your value. Gold was physical. Gold is the number one reason for wars in history. It was sought after for thousands upon thousands of years. And what's the first thing throughout history that you go for if you're a victor in a war? Is there gold? You know? And so because value was physical, it created violence, it created wars, it brought about theft, confiscation by rulers. If I could have you bust your ass all your life for the value and then take it in an instant, isn't that better? Isn't that a better system for me if I am more powerful than you? To wait for you to have enough that's worthy for me to take? And isn't that what's happening now? All right. Your value is confiscated, taken, and silently stolen through things like inflation, the 7%, that's theft. It's stolen through, all right, you work, you pay taxes, you take that, anything you do with that, you pay taxes. You pay taxes on clothing, you pay taxes on food. All right. If you invest, you pay capital gains taxes. If you die, you pay inheritance taxes. If you leave the country, you pay an exit tax. Like it's all taking. And because it's physical, it's easy to do. In this higher society, in this higher digital existence, value can't be taken in the form of Bitcoin. It cannot. Without, against your will, it cannot. It can't be stolen. It can't be confiscated. It can't be controlled. It can't be debased. It can't be touched. Yet, it's available to every single human being on earth. Now, some people take issue with me when I say Bitcoin is available to every single human being on earth today. You say, well, Oliver, come on. It's $59,000 per Bitcoin. That's available to every human being on earth? No. But Bitcoin is still available to maybe not one, but as an example, if I find some amazing artist. I love this artist's work, but he lives in, I don't know, Ethiopia. Doesn't have a bank account. If I sent him money, they'd take half of it anyway, if he did have a bank account. What does it cost him to drum up a receive address? 0. What does it cost me to send him payment for that? He doesn't need to be able to buy $59,000 Bitcoin, but he can receive Bitcoin for value. All you have to do is be valuable to someone with Bitcoin, and you have access to Bitcoin. Every human being can receive Bitcoin on planet Earth for the most part, and increasingly so. So how do you give US dollars to every human being on Earth? Impossible. How do you give gold to every single human being on Earth? Impossible. How do you give anything to every single person, human being on Earth? Nothing can be given to every single human being on Earth except Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing. There's 8.1 billion people on planet Earth, which makes Bitcoin's limited supply of 21, and let's take 5 million off of that. So we're talking about 16 million Bitcoin, right? Now, 8.1 billion people, 16 million Bitcoin is available. Now, get this, 250, close to 220,000 new human beings are born every single day. That's net of the human beings that pass away. So Bitcoin becomes scarcer every single day by 220,000 people. The Bitcoin you have in your wallet right now has become more valuable today than it was yesterday. Forget what this says. Let's talk about the value. Sorry, let's talk about the value of Bitcoin per human being. That became more valuable. It became more scarce. Something that becomes more scarce becomes more valuable. A desirable item that becomes more scarce becomes more valuable. So if we look at it through not the glasses of the US dollar or some other government paper, we start looking at it through the glasses of human beings, your Bitcoin becomes more valuable every single day by 220,000 people. That's insane, but it doesn't stop there. There's a brand new race that we are discovering that lives in this new world. Remember, the internet was the contraption that made us to discover there's a whole new country here. Oh my God. This new country is called digital land. And it's now sucking our life into it, right? And as our photos went there, our mail went there, our this went there, our that went there, our relationships, our this, our movies, everything, our calls, all of our communications. We're now discovering that, wait a minute, we thought this was a barren land. There's a whole race that lives here, and they're growing rapidly. This race I would dub AI. They're workers. They do things. They work side by side for now with human beings, and they grow faster than human beings do in this world. They're smarter than human beings. They do things more efficiently than human beings because they are native to the land. We are native to a different world. So they're superior in many ways, not in every way. But my God, and they're proliferating. And they are going to demand what? Gold? This race that lives there, that's growing exponentially faster than the human race, think they're going to want gold? They don't know what that is. They're going to want the Argentinian peso. They don't know what that is. Dollars. They're going to want something digitally native. What's the digital, global, neutral money in the world today? And increasingly so. Bitcoin. When AI start doing processes that require payment, what's an AI going to receive? Bitcoin. Do you understand this? Let me give you an example of this. So we've looked into putting together AI processes, right? That require, let's say, this AI process takes 16 steps for completion. But this AI can do the 16 steps almost in an instant, right? But at the eighth step in the 16 step requires another AI that the owner of this AI, or the one that's running this AI, needs another AI to complete step 8. That requires a little micropayment. And so this AI has a Lightning wallet. The other AI has a Lightning wallet. And to complete that 8th step, boom, a micropayment of Satoshis is sent to get all the way to the 16th step. Guys, I am telling you that nothing can accomplish that except Bitcoin. Now, when you start thinking like this, and you think 8.1 billion human beings, 220 new per day, makes my Bitcoin more valuable, more scarce. And then when you add a new race to those numbers that will far outstrip the number of human beings, how scarce and how much more valuable is your Bitcoin now? Oh my goodness. I got you, Mom. I got you, Mom. This is insane, no? If you were to ask AI, AI already knows more about money than you do. Ask it. If you were to ask AI, what's the best performing money? It's going to tell you Bitcoin. It knows more than you do. You doubters, you negators, AI knows. You don't know. AI knows. AI knows what's the best performing asset the world has ever known. AI knows what's the best money. AI knows what's the hardest asset, the hardest commodity that human beings have ever come in contact with. AI knows what's the most neutral money. AI knows the money that can't be stolen, can't be touched, can't be confiscated, can't be stolen, can't be debased. It knows all of this. You're trying to know it now. AI already knows it. So when AI starts demanding payment, what is it going to demand? Bitcoin. And that race is way more numerous than our race is. And we're joining forces. This is extraordinarily powerful. It makes you understand, if you really truly get this, it makes you understand that we can't wrap our minds around where this is going. The same way in 1994, when commercial use of the internet finally was made legal in the United States, we thought, prior to that, we thought the internet was just email. Oh, I can send a letter to someone. That was the extent of what we thought was the internet. Okay, that's cool. There was no way to wrap our minds around the fact that there would be trillion-dollar companies, trillion-dollar assets that's based on this thing alone. We never knew that it would touch every corner of our lives and change the way we live, the way we breathe, the way we eat, the way we entertain ourselves, the way we are intimate with each other. We never could grasp that. And we're here now. We're at the equivalent of 1994 internet. There's no way for us to grasp. We know it's big, but we can't fathom how big. And I will tell you this, we as species, we tend to overestimate the short term and underestimate the longer term. Longer term, none of us can think big enough. None of us, not even me. This thing is going beyond our capability to mentally grasp at this point. And you're thinking about taking profits at 100,000? You don't get it. You don't get it. Wow. The Cloud Mining Collective said, bro, I love this point. I appreciate that. It's crazy though. Crazy. All right. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. John Richardson says, we're glad to be your traders. We appreciate your talks. Thank you. Yeah, my traders join in on some of these talks, guys, and I appreciate each and every one of them. Yeah, it's cool. Ashley says, recently in December, recently got orange pill in December. Oh, wow, that's a baby. I like that. I like that. In December, I consider myself a baby being orange pilled. I would say kind of late 2019, but lightly so. And I would say mid 2020, I was all the way in the hole, all the way in the rabbit hole. I kept getting my mind blown over and over and over again. It's crazy. And recently, orange pill in December, and have been deep in the rabbit hole. I've had so much clarity since learning about Bitcoin, and now can't unsee how the game is fixed, but Bitcoin fixes it. That's right. Constantly learning new things from this amazing BTC community. I appreciate that. Yeah, once you see these things, guys, it's very difficult to unsee them. Very difficult. And there's no turning back. There's no turning back. There's no reversing this. There's no stopping this, guys. It's reached the point of no return. There is no halting its growth. There is no slowing it down. And as I was mentioning before, what I hope you don't do, especially now as a result of our talk, I hope you don't associate what a pair of glasses, the US dollar, the Argentinian peso, the Japanese yen, what the glasses say is not what you should be relying on. If anything, use the human being glasses, but you don't even really need that. But if you're going to use glasses, I would use the human being glasses and the IA glasses. And then you start to see the enormity of this thing, right? But I hope that you don't associate what the US dollar says Bitcoin is worth with its true value. They're completely separate from each other. That's the exchange rate moving for your broken money. So you're using the broken thing to judge the solution, the perfect thing. That is an error and it is a trap. You can't do that. You can't fall prey to that. And the people who haven't fallen prey to that, guys, the people who haven't let the glasses fool them, trick them, give me a second here. They have experienced this and will forevermore. That is right now. That's the entire life of Bitcoin. guys, give me a second here. That's the entire life of Bitcoin to this moment right now, 59,299.63 or whatever. It's moving. But that is what those who have not allowed the glasses to fool them about what they have, that is what they've experienced. And let me just do this for you. Let me just do this for you. You need to really do, it should really be this. Do you understand? That's how you mentally should look at this. It's the very, very beginning, people. You know, the bond market is 600 plus years old. The equity market is what? 200 some odd years old? The shoot, Apple's almost 50 years old. I mean, this is a baby as far as a global asset is concerned. And I will do this for you. Let me do this. How do I do this? I think I can do it like that. You know, guys, it's not going to, let me just do this better. It's not going to stop. Do you understand? It's not going to stop. I'm going to say it again. It's not going to stop. Bonds haven't stopped 600 years. Gold hasn't stopped 6,000 years. Silver hasn't stopped 9,000 years. Apple hasn't stopped almost 50 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not going to stop, guys. And as new human beings are born, we're talking about less than, we're talking about a half of 1% adoption, half of 1% adoption now. And so where are we at 5%, 10%, 20%, 60%? It's insane. All right, guys, that's my talk for today. Yeah. Do I have any theories as to why the ETFs have slowed down? IBIT going to zero for 5 days. No, guys, come on. As I mentioned before, the vast majority of the money that went into these spot Bitcoin ETFs, that first wave, that's all retail. So, if you look at the, just read the comments on Bitcoin Twitter, everybody's fearful. They sold. They're selling. That's all retail. When the institutional crowd is here, it's not that they don't sell. It's just that they don't sell like this. All right. They have a longer view. I've been in the financial space for professionally 37 years. And in my industry, you're taught to go into something with an 18-month view. Okay. But longer too. But your smallest increment is 18 months. You're not doing something for what it's going to do 3 months from now, or a month from now, or a week from now. They don't get shaken out because Bitcoin's the best performing asset and is now rest in the world and is now resting a little bit. That in the professional world, that's silly. That's silly. And they're going to have their finger on the pulse of what's coming into this. They're going to know more intimately than you how much money is coming into this from that world, because they're in that world. They're part of that world. They know the meetings going on. They know what's happening down the road. They're the ones that have sovereign wealth funds as clients, pension funds as clients, countries as clients. They will know. So, 18 months minimum. And then the next stop is 5 years. So you got that first increment is 18 months. That second increment is 5 years, right? And so nobody's worried. They use in between the increment between now and 18 months from now, they will use retail freaking out to get that. Do you understand? So this is not institutions. This is retail behavior. So what I try to do here is get you to adopt retail behavior, because to adopt institutional behavior. But what you see in the ETFs happening now, that's all retail behavior freaking out, because the best performing asset on planet Earth takes a rest. That's stupid. To real professional money, that's dumb. That they would be doing the reverse. Do you understand? Now, also, I think that the bigger players, they have teams that are studying this 24 hours a day, guys. They're not going into this just because of a brochure. They've got teams. They don't put $500 million into something if they haven't studied it and well. They will be more educated than you. They're not going to be here on Twitter bullshitting. Do you understand? They're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole than you, because they have the resources. They have the resource to put 8 people. This is your only job. You don't lift your head until you know this inside and out, backwards and forwards, like the freaking back of your hand. And I am telling you, when these organizations have that group that knows this even better than me, guys, it's over. It's over. Your opportunity is gone. Your little $1 is going to buy diddly. Your opportunity is now, because they're coming and they're going to take this away from you. I'm telling you, they're going to take this away from you. The attack on Bitcoin is never down. This is the most asinine thing that comes from people. That, they're crashing Bitcoin. Are you stupid? That's not the way they attack Bitcoin. The attack is the other way. The attack is to take it away from you, not to bring it to you, dummy. Crashing Bitcoin brings it to you, bozos. They're not going to do that. They're going to take it away from you, bozos. They take it the other way. When they don't want you in their neighborhood, what do they do with the prices of the property? Take them down? No, they take them up so that you have no access. Do you understand? If they don't want you in their country club, do they bring the price down? No, they have super high prices so that you can't gain access. They're not going to want you to have access, and they're going to take this away from you so that the only way you have access is to come to me. That's the attack. The attack is up, not down. That is dumb. Get it straight and stay close. I'll do my best to stop you from being so bozo-like in your thinking. All right. All right, guys, listen, ciao for now. I appreciate each and every one of you who've joined live. How many people I have? 1,550? Good, fantastic. I appreciate that. Listen, every single talk winds up on my Bitcoin podcast that's called Bitcoin Unleashed. Search that out. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify, Apple, Google. It's all over. Fountain app. Get it there. Every single talk I've ever done since I started this, there's months and months and months and months Go down that rabbit hole, and I promise you, you will raise your level of sophistication regarding this so high that you'll be head and shoulders above the vast majority of these bozos out here slinging around these stupid things. All right? All right, guys. Ciao for now. Boom. Boom. Go grab something to eat.